then look at the churches of Corinth. But first, I think we want to look at the city. Its position not only affected the city, but affected the church very deeply. It's on that narrow isthmus of land which joins the mainland of Greece to the Peloponnese. And it's a very narrow strip of land there. And that's very significant because ships invariably came this way. And if they were big ships, they discharged their cargo at Corinth. And the cargo was carried a few miles over the land and put on another ship to go east. The smaller boats were actually pulled out of the water and pulled on rollers across a little road across there, and then launched again. Why on earth then didn't ships go around here? Because this is a very dangerous part of the Mediterranean Sea. It's like the Cape Horn, and it really is dangerous. And to avoid, especially in the winter storms, to avoid going round that cape, ships came in here and either had their cargo taken across or even the boats manhandled across and put back in the water. So Corinth was a key port. Actually, Corinth was about 2 miles from the sea, and it had its own port, Lycium, here. And there was a double city wall, 2 miles from the port up to the city of Corinth to protect the road to the port. Just outside Corinth was a mountain, Mount Acrocorinthus here. And from the top of that mountain, well, it was only 2,000 feet high, but from the top of it, you could actually see Athens 40 miles away. Now, I like to parallel cities in the ancient world with cities of today. This is Edinburgh, that's Glasgow. Apologies to all Scots here, but in fact, this was the sort of refined city with the university and where the philosophers lived and so on. This was where the Festival of Arts was held, whereas this was the port, the shipbuilding place, and the Glaswegians lived here and the Edinburgh people lived here. So that gives you a kind of feel. So Athens and Corinth were real rivals, and again, like Scotland, they were at either side of the narrow bit of land that joined one part to another. Well, that gives you a little feel of the place. Archaeologists have discovered a great deal in Athens, in Corinth, especially since the earthquake of 1858, which revealed some of the ruins. And the main picture here, forget this for a moment, is the main street of Corinth, as it was in Paul's day. It's all been excavated now. And they've found the bema, the judgment seat, where Paul was judged. They've found all sorts of things, including the Jewish synagogue. So they've really revealed an awful lot, and everything tallies with Luke's account in the book of Acts. There's the mountain, 2,000 feet high, from which you could see Athens 40 miles away. The port is down this way. Nowadays, of course, they don't manhandle ships over the top. They've cut this gigantic deep ravine, the Corinthian Canal, right through, and an ocean-going liner can just squeeze through. If you go cruising in the eastern Mediterranean, you may well go through this canal now. Nero tried to cut the canal way back in Paul's day, but he failed. And it wasn't until the 19th century that this deep cut was actually made that cuts off northern Greece from the Peloponnese. So that's the background. Another thing that we need to know is that this was actually the second city of Corinth. There were two cities. The first one went back a long way, and it was very wealthy and terribly pagan. They worshipped, for example, Poseidon, the god of the sea, and above all, Aphrodite. They had a huge temple here originally, which had 2,000 priestesses. They were actually prostitutes, and worship was quite exciting in those days. You simply went and had intercourse with a priest. And you can imagine the effect that had. Apart from the fact that being a port with sailors, well, enough said. In fact, to say that a woman was a Corinthian was to call her a prostitute. And to Corinthianize became an actual verb in the Greek language, meaning to have promiscuous sex. So that was the reputation it had. It was a bad city. And incidentally, the place of all those priestesses was going to affect the Corinthian church. because the women wanted to do things that men were doing. And the background explains a great deal of why Paul concentrates on men and women relationships in Corinthian correspondence.